Hey, good looking, what you found? Always looks better when it's upside down. Say you got nowhere that you're going to. Cannot go nowhere with you. Government very into the town. Spend my pennies coming around. Trying to find a way to tear a strip off these blues. Cannot go nowhere with you. Paid the cover, saw the show. Saw at the bar where the drinks did flow. Didn't see a single face that I knew till I went nowhere with you. Cannot take go tonight or kill some time. It looks like you might be on. Need a little company. I'm so cheap, I might as well be free. Hey, good looking, wonderful. Always looks better when it's upside down. You say you got nowhere that you're going to. Cannot go nowhere with you. I hope you get tired and want to go home. I'm still wired, I can go it alone. Same time next week at 10:15, and we can go nowhere again. Oh, if you're sure, and then you know I will too. Can I go nowhere with you? Can I take a look tonight or kill some time?
I'll have the nothing civil, the first one we're gonna do. I'll have the nothing civil, the first one we're gonna do.
A full pint of this? A full pint or just the taste?
Just a 4 ounce will be fine.
Hey, good looking, wonderful. Always looks better when it's upside down. She ain't got nowhere that you're going to. Can I go nowhere with you? Can I go nowhere with you? Can I go nowhere with you? Oh man. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Eric. Where'd we go? Got a couple of people signed in, all right? So, yeah. There's 3 boxes there.
All right, you're good, Lexi.
Oh, I just go on? Okay.
Yeah, come.
Hi, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome.
Lexi fam.
No, I was
No?
shutting my.
No,
I was
you're
just
shutting off.
my mic off because I'm getting a feedback call.
Oh, okay.
Welcome everybody to Beers with Phil. This is my pleasure to introduce Lexi Pham, the creator of the first beer that we're going to be trying tonight, Nothing Civil. Lexi, talk to us a little bit about it.
All right. So first things first, about this beer. So this is created by the Lacuna Collective. That includes myself. I'm a certified beer sommelier, and Truth Ellipsis, who is a spoken word artist and a beer enthusiast who did the label art, the poem for the can, and with Ren Navarro of Beer Diversity. So all 3 of us together make the Lacuna Collective, which means the missing puzzle and missing piece in the beer industry.
So this is not the first time that this beer has been produced, is it?
No, this is the 3rd time actually. We made it first in August, I believe August 21st for the Nat Turner Rebellion, because that was the first successful slave rebellion of 1831. So we created it for that, and then it was so popular, it was sold out, and everyone wanted to try it again. We brewed it again in October, and now we're brewing it again for August again. Yeah.
So what was the inspiration for the recipe?
So generally all 3 of us are huge IPA fans. And we wanted something with a bit of a tropical note to it at the same time to basically talk about the flavors that we normally like in a beer, basically. Like the flavors we normally like to taste. Like for instance, in this beer, you're gonna have a bit of passion fruit, a bit of lemongrass, like all those nice subtle flavors with a light bit of bitterness at the end as well to make sure it's still that whole IPA scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. You decided to become a beer sommelier.
Yes.
What was the driver behind it?
Well, I first went to school for event management, and in that course, they teach you basically, it's a pretty vague course, but they teach you everything, and you get to learn about beer, wine, tea, and coffee. And I thought I wanted to be a wine sommelier, and then I realized that it wasn't for me. And then I did the course for beer, and I wanted to know much more about it because for me, beer is just so much more in depth and has so much more to it, and also hasn't been explored as much. So I wanted to go with that. And also, I love beer, so that helps.
Certainly does. So were you a home brewer before?
No. I just went to school. I did Prud'homme, which is a Canadian version of, I guess, Cicerone. And I'm working on my master's right now, which is the last level for master sommelier. And yeah, I just think of different beer recipes. It's very similar to like how you would think of for food recipes. And so Nothing Civil isn't my first recipe. My first one actually was for Royal City. It's Caribbean Sunshine, and it was a sorrel beer, sessionable at 4.5%. So generally just do recipes at this point.
What's in the future for you?
So I am the creator and owner of Crafty Palette. So I'm also a beer educator. I still go to other breweries and I talk to them about different styles of beer, how to approach the beer, different glassware you need for the beer to experience the flavors from the beer itself, depending on like the sizing and the shapeware of the glass. And also still create beer recipes as well. Also part of Crafty Palette, I do pairing and tastings. And right here on the patio, I'm also a confectioner. So I also make chocolates and candies infused with alcohol and not infused with alcohol. So if you are on the Wellington patio in the next week or so, we'll be having dessert flights as well with the beers to pair with it. Yeah.
We're going to kill a little more time. Just
Yep, that's totally fine. So with the beer itself, to talk about the beer, so it's made with Golden Promise malt to give it more of that body to handle that 6.5%. And so it's much more of a smoother feel to it. And then also it's made with Pacific Jade and Hartal Blanc hops to give it that melon, passion fruit, and lemongrass note, and a slight bit of bitterness of it from a bit of the orange that you would get from the Pacific Jade. Yeah.
I am totally unprepared, so I didn't do any background searching on you.
Fair enough.
Feedback from home, Bill, is people can't hear you too well.
So,
Okay.
where did you go to learn your confection skills?
That, so with that, I didn't actually go to school for that. I've been making candies and chocolates since I was 12. So one day I went to the store. I wanted to get my favorite chocolate bar, which is crunchy. And I went to the store and they didn't have any. So I went home and made it myself. And from then on, I just started making my own candies. So it's been a good more than 16 years of making chocolates and candies. And then I just decided to, especially during these times of the pandemic, and I would bring them as gifts to people. And they were like, why didn't you just start selling them? I was like, oh, okay, I'll start doing that then.
So is there a storefront?
No, I'm just right now bringing the chocolates to Wellington Brewery.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were able to buy them online, right?
Unfortunately, no. It's more of an incentive to come to the patio and have the beers here and have the chocolates and the cheese as well. That's curated by Taste of Craft. That's also here at Wellington Brewery. So, yeah.
And you're in the beer world, sommelier in the beer world.
Yeah.
Are you planning on doing more beer releases?
Yes. But those are all secrets for now. So
Okay, we went down the wrong road on that.
that's okay.
What's your mom think of all this?
Sorry?
What's your mom think of all this?
She lets me do what I want at this point. I'm 31 years old. She doesn't really matter anymore. She's like, it's more like, as long as you're happy, then I'm happy, and I'm happy. So that's basically.
Fantastic. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah. So with the label art, we collab with our local label artist here in Wellington, Gord, and we collaborated with him to make this wonderful label. So shout out to Gord for that. He was really good with that. He was giving the ideas, and he was like, all right, I'm going for it. And that's what he came up with. So it's fantastic.
So the label was like just a one go around. You talked to him, and he just.
We all talked about it. We looked at it. We like, nope, change this. Like, you got to go through the whole motions and everything. I'm like, that. Okay, that's just. We're like all 4 of us were like, that's right. That's perfect now. So yeah.
And I missed. Did you bring up the fact that the sales from this is going to a particular organization?
Yes. So last year, this went to Black Lives Matter Canada, the 100% of the profits. And this year, we're focusing on Black Health Alliance because Black health matters. That means mental health and health in general. Because normally, what myself and the rest of Lacuna have experienced in the medical field, as well as just being in hospitals, of the treatment of BIPOC people, especially Black people, when they come to the hospital. So we just want to bring more awareness to that.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
To do what you want. And it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks, but do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. My mother always says, whatever makes you happy.
Sound advice, is it not?
Yeah.
And how can you argue with mom?
It's true. I can't. Definitely can't argue with her.
And what would be the one thing you'd like all of us to take away from this tonight?
Just to, when you're tasting this beer, just to think about the fact that, like, why this beer was made. Like, this, as we say, is our liquid protest. We want you to, when you're tasting it, to actually, if you can, possibly taste like the emotion and the feeling behind it, and then to go home and do your own research on Google.
Thank you, Lexi. I appreciate you taking time.
No problem.
Lexi Pham, the creator of this beer.
Yeah, enjoy.
Do you want to talk about the collab?
Bill, people at home are having trouble hearing you.
Pardon me?
People at home are having trouble hearing you. They can hear that one good, but not you.
So we're gonna experiment because we're gonna try with the mic because it's great when there's no traffic, and then it's like as soon as there's vehicles. So I mean, we knew this going in.
Should have closed the road.
Yes.
Fine.
Now we're talking. If
Bill,
only
if you
we had
can hear
closed
me,
the
it's
road.
fine.
Yeah, next time we'll do that. So Eric's gonna set this up. We'll try it. It might not work, but we'll see.
Thanks, Eric.
I think the speaker would have to be in front of the mic, right? If I have any sort of science.
Yeah, so if I move the speaker forward,
It just has to be ahead of it, right? Although, and then I need to make this directional, so it's only. See, I'm smart. I don't know what these symbols mean, though. You know what?
Just a mild
Not a
technical
clue.
difficulty, ladies and
Let's
gentlemen.
go with
Joined
this
in.
one. It looks like a bump. Okay. So we'll try this, and then, yeah, because we can go like this, and then they should still pick up something like this. Yeah, yeah. Because they won't hear it like that. Yeah. Okay, test. Can you hear me? Test, test,
Well,
test.
you guys are going to have to yell questions at me because you don't have a chat line.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay.
But nobody knows how to operate in real life anymore, right? It's like, how do I do this without chatting?
It's like being at the bar all over again.
Yeah.
Yell at Phil to get his attention.
Oh, is it? Oh, I see. There we go. Now we need to. So as long as this doesn't, can we get some online? I can't really watch the comments, but just make sure they're hearing this okay. Is it?
Yeah, Naomi's giving us a thumb up.
All right. This is great.
And then just talk right in.
Yeah, you gotta go right in. Okay. Eric, this is amazing. Thanks for setting us up with this. He tried to convince us earlier on, and us professionals didn't want to listen to him. So, all right. So this is good. It would have been good to have this for Lexi, but hopefully everybody heard her story, and just that beer is amazing. I love it, like from what it stands for, along with the liquid itself. So very tasty. So yeah, now we're going to talk about this collab we did. So whenever we want to pour the next beer, we can get that going.
We didn't professionally coordinate with them inside.
That's true,
either,
yeah.
did we?
No. So thankfully we have Eric here again. Like this is, he's just the Eric of all trades. Okay, so I can start talking. So this, the idea for this really came about as most great ideas, in a very serendipitous, roundabout kind of way. So Bill and I had talked about doing collab. I've been on his show 3 times, maybe, I think. And we really wanted to do it. The one time we had it quasi set up, and then it was like the full-on lockdown when it's like, okay, nobody's supposed to go anywhere. So like, okay, better not do it. And then it just kind of got like summer hit and it was busy. Then bars opened and we got even crazier. So, and then somehow I've known Eric for many, many years. So when he went on Bill's show, I don't make it to many of them, but I decided to come on, and then we got chatting after and decided that we really needed to really do this collab this time and bring Eric along. And the whole genesis behind the idea was the fact that Eric hates sour beers. It's cue booing now because Eric doesn't know good sour beers. Anyway, so the whole mission behind this beer was to create a sour beer that Eric will enjoy and like. And he has yet to actually try the beer. So you guys are all going to witness the inaugural sampling. And Eric's going to be very honest.
I'm going to keep my mask on for reactions.
Eric, if you're planning on being honest, I think you should be on the other side of us near the exit.
That's
Okay.
right.
And watch out for Derek, because he's close, and he was with us when we did the collab.
Yeah.
True.
Do you have a straw hole in that mask?
No, I know it should.
So kind of the neat thing, I love how collaborations like this work. And typically as a brewer, we often collaborate with other brewers, and it's a very common thing in the industry. But I actually really enjoy doing collabs with just, normal, regular folk that aren't brewers. But no, like seriously, you can get a lot of different ideas and just different things, and it challenges us as well. So, and Eric's serving now as well. So here we go.
And he just thought he was going to play music tonight.
So when Bill and I had talked way back about a style, he really was keen on doing a Berliner Weiss for the summer. And I also a hoppy Berliner Weiss is kind of where we landed. And so I'm like, yeah, that sounds really great. We've done a number of different sours and different kettle sours, but never like a true Berliner Weiss. So I was excited to do that, nice and low alcohol. And just very refreshing. And then Eric came along, and so he had ideas of his own. He's been experimenting in the kitchen and all sorts of places. And so he came with some culinary sort of ideas, and rosemary being the big one. So we bantered about some other ones, but we really landed on rosemary Berliner Weiss. And then actually they were here, and Derek, and I don't know, do you want to talk about your experience, or we're going to get him on later?
Yeah, right.
He's welcome to talk about his experiences.
Yeah.
Well,
we don't want
to
to
have an opportunity to talk.
Okay.
Because I didn't want him to prepare an hour speech.
Right. Okay.
Can I stand on the bar?
So we decided to dry hop with Simcoe, actually. So this, so it's got the dry hop, Simcoe. We all were in the hop fridge smelling hops together. Sounds like a weird sort of journey, but
maybe you want to rephrase that.
Yeah. So and then we decided we got the rosemary in, and yeah, just let it do its thing. So some of you may have had it, or have you people tried it already? All right. So thoughts?
Refreshing. Very refreshing.
Yeah, 3%. Like it's, but it still has a fair bit of body to like not tell you it's thin. I love the color. It's super light. I did not put too much emphasis on it, but I do feel like this is one of the better beers I've crafted over the last 18 years. So I'm very proud with how it turned out. For me, lower alcohol beers are actually the hardest things in the world to make. I can make big beers all day long, and they're tricky and whatnot, but the lower ones, to make them taste good, have body and flavor, are very tricky to do. So this one, I do feel like it was the influence of Bill, and we can give Derek some credit in this, I guess, and Eric, of course. So I have to mention him every time he comes out. So I'm still waiting. Is this the last round? Are you gonna sample it in front of us all?
Sure. Yeah, you guys still need yours.
Oh, okay.
And you, Eric.
Three more.
Yeah. Any other questions about the beer itself? Cam.
So, Wellington Weiss traditionally in Germany sometimes is paired with a cordial a little bit in the bottom. Is that correct? Like,
Yes.
Flavor? If you were to add a cordial to this to pair with it, what would you do with the rosemary?
I wasn't prepared for that question.
Rosemary flavor.
Basil.
I don't know. What do you think? Having tasted it.
Turkey? I'm not even sure the options you get. Like, a little citrus.
I think so. Yeah, because
Lemon or lime?
I would. Yeah, definitely. Probably lemon.
Yeah.
That would be my take. Yeah, for those, I know most of you are well versed in the beer culture, but this is probably not quite as sour as a true Berliner Weiss. They are very, very. They're so sour. In fact, that's why you serve them with a little shot of something sweet. So that's a little bit dependent on the. Thank you, sir. No problem. On your strain of lacto that you use. So we kind of just used our house strain, which is we use for a lot of kettle sours. So this was more dictated by the malt bill that was traditional to Berliner Weiss and that. So
We're just going to get in the picture.
oh, okay. Sweet. Oh, right. Here we go. Nobody's watching this.
Cheers.
Okay. Cheers. We can do this. All right.
It's good. It's not
Don't fake it. Don't fake it.
I'm not faking it. It's very light. It's refreshing. It doesn't make my cheeks hurt.
Right. That's what we were going for.
You can taste the rosemary too.
Yeah, I was a little on the fence about whether to up it after our original amount, but I felt like if we went any higher, it would overpower like all the other elements. I like the level that it is. So.
Oh, okay. It's very crushable.
It's very crushable.
Okay, Eric has spoken. It's crushable.
I like that. What do you
think?
You have to name it.
It's not really as sour, right? Like
It's almost not as sour.
It is accessible.
It's the rosemary, really. It just, you know.
You stick with the original name. I suppose. Eric's not.
Yeah.
It's very
Marvin,
a good one.
did we put a splash of Zika hops in?
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Wasn't it?
Okay, I just wanted to verify that.
Well done, Marvin.
In the boil, we put the.
Right at the very end of the boil.
Yeah, that's
It
right.
was not, I thought. Not a,
Centennial?
I don't think it was.
I thought
I
it
think it
was.
was Cascade or Centennial. I thought.
Eric's looking at me.
Eric was here.
I don't remember.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of confusion now.
I
What
thought
beer
you were
we actually made.
Anybody write down the recipe? Somebody.
I have it written down. Yeah, yeah.
This is good, Marvin.
All right.
This is good. So we have to name it still.
We still have to name it.
Did I bring the right one?
Yes. Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
I would. It has to obviously have confused in the name now.
What pH did you aim for at the end after the sour?
This is, if I remember right, 3.3. Yeah. So you'll get some. I know Nickelbrook is well known for like super sour, and like we've tested some of theirs. They're 3.1. They can even be as low as 2.9. I've seen some of them. It's very close, yeah. So, although Coca-Cola is 2.5 or 4, something like that, but it's got so much sugar that it balances it out. So, yeah, I'm very happy with it. So, we will do crowlers if people want to take it with them. So we didn't actually can it in like a regular run. This was just a super small batch, but there is enough for crowlers for people. So we will fill those. We'll get figure out how many people want them at the end, and we'll do that. So we might have to hang out a little longer and drink more beer, but there you go.
Derek, did you want to take a minute to talk about your experience helping us do a collab? This is your one chance that I will allow you to speak with my permission.
The mic also sits on the screen.
Hello, everyone. Hello, my wife on the couch there. I thought this would be a big, serious brew day, so I woke up early on a Friday. I skipped my sleep.
That was you got up before 9 a.m. So
I showed up ready to shovel. I thought I'd be shoveling grain and everything. I was prepared, and then I got here, and turns out Marvin did the brew the day before. It had to sour overnight, so the day started with a bunch of standing around. It's pretty good that way. It smelled like a turkey dinner was cooking. It was pretty awesome. And then what do? Marvin baked a loaf of bread, or Marvin, sorry, so we ate some bread, and then continued standing around, and then we went into the hop room, which smelled incredible. We stuck our nose in a bunch of big bags of hops, and then debated back and forth which hops to put in. We still don't know what we came up with, apparently. And then Marvin had to go to a meeting, so he gave us instructions. This is where I came in. I got to push the button to start the whirlpool. So my contribution to this career was pushing a button. And then ate some more bread. Marvin handed us Marvin gives a beer. It's 9:30 to go. And then he had to go to another meeting, and that was the end of the brew day. So I didn't know going in what it was going to be. I knew they were making a sour, but it turns out the rosemary is no name brand. I can tell you guys that. Comes in those annoying yellow bags.
Listen, Derek, the trade secrets are supposed to be kept.
Anyway, that's what the brew day was. So my first collab was pretty intense day, and it turned out really awesome. I agree with Marvin's assessment. It's a delicious, crushable beer. So I will cede the mic.
Thanks, Derek. Eric, would you like to take a minute?
Sure.
You should have joined me today, Eric, because Derek, if you wanted to shovel grain. So that's what I spent my afternoon doing.
Oh, no. So I won't walk you through the step-by-step because it was exactly the same as what Derek went through. Minus I had to leave to get to another meeting. I didn't get a 9:30 a.m. beer. That was like that. Somehow that missed when I was there. But no, it was really, really cool. I've never been part of a beer making process, and really was only part of a 5-minute walkthrough of where that was at the moment. But it was cool, and I also don't think I ever realized just like how diverse hops can be. And oddly enough, it was just on Sunday night. Like this photo shoot in a hops field, and it was crazy to then see that even more. Every row was like a different kind of hops, and I never knew that. That was really wild. So thank you, Marvin, for your hospitality at Wellington Brewery. This is actually really, really, really good. Like to the point that I would take a Carlo home myself.
Now we got it.
No, man, and I think we're gonna do more music maybe tomorrow as well. I think if that's still the plan. To just keep this party going. We'll see. Thank you.
What hop field were you at? What hop field were you at?
Tavistock.
Oh, Tavistock? Yeah, cool.
Jerry, do you want to come on and tell me what you think the name of the beer should be?
Who?
I can. I'm not sure you can hear me, Bill.
Be wise and confused.
The wise and confused.
The wise and confused. The wise and confused.
The wise and confused.
I get
Be
it.
wise and confused.
Ah,
That sounds about right.
okay.
Seems as we can't remember what we made. Okay. And apparently Derek was already drinking when he got here.
Oh, I didn't know that. We shouldn't have let him in.
The wise and That's a lie. I waited till I got here to start. Went out of brewery.
Marvin, you want to talk to us a little bit about the seltzer?
Sure. Okay, I'm back. So we're going to sample. So I believe on one of the shows I had mentioned about how we were getting a machine. So I point back here. It's back there somewhere. And this machine is really cool. Actually, it uses vacuum distillation to remove the alcohol from beer. So it does that when you put it under a vacuum. You guys know physics. You can boil at a much lower temperature. Oh, I thought you guys were all physics majors, no? I'm joking. Anyway, so it's the opposite. Anyway. So it's like when you climb Everest and how water boils at a much lower temperature because there's less atmosphere and there's less pressure. So when you bring that pressure down like really low, as in put it under a vacuum, you can actually evaporate ethanol around 20 degrees Celsius. So normally it evaporates around 65 to 70. So you can, the old school way of making non-alcoholic beer was to just like boil it like at a lower temperature, 80 degrees probably, and that will drive the ethanol off over time. The problem with that is that it tastes like you just cooked your beer because that's literally what you did. So there's been lots of technological advances over the years. And so one of the ways that they now can remove ethanol is through a vacuum distillation. So we bought a machine like that. Now this one is actually unique in the fact that they've designed it to really get two streams that come out. So basically you put your alcoholic beer, it goes into the machine, and then two different streams come out in equal amounts. So if I were to take a 4.5% beer and run it through the machine, I end up with a 4% seltzer, or just water. Alcoholic water is literally all it is, and it has like no flavor, which is really cool. And then you get a non-alcoholic beer. Now, non-alcoholic beer, most of you know, using this method, it can't get out 100%, so it's going to be under 0.5. So they typically end up around 0.4, which is legal for a non-alcoholic beer. Now, you will see some. We've done an awful lot of market research on non-alcoholic beer. It is one of the fastest growing segments in Canada now. It's already 14% of beer sales in Germany. Europe it's huge. The US is growing substantially. Athletic Brewing being the big one down there. Partake is the big one up here, but there's a bunch of other ones that are coming on board. Actually, recently I tried one from PEI. What's the brewery out there? Sorry, it's escaping me. No, PEI. Not Green Gables. Good guess. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They have one you can order online. It's expensive, but it was very good. So they do it through a different technique. Sorry, I can talk forever on non-alcoholic beer.
By all means, talk forever.
So there's a few different ways to do it. One of the other ways that's really cool that a lot of them are doing, I think Athletic does it this way and Partake, is called a micro fermentation. So what you do is you make a beer. So typically, like for the one we made it to 8 Play-Doh and then fermented it down to about 2, and that gave us around 3%. So this micro fermentation is you brew a beer around 5 to 6 Play-Doh, but only ferment it down to like 4.5 or 5. So a very small drop where you get a tiny bit of alcohol, but you also get the flavor that was produced during that fermentation. So they call it micro fermentation. Now the benefit of that is you're not running it through a machine. You're not like, you don't have the potential to cook it or anything like that. So you can produce some really good ones. The downside is they can tend to taste maybe a bit more sweet and have like a little too much body. But anyway, it'll be interesting when you try the one that we do, but I'm talking about it in reverse. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you guys, if you stop the fermentation, or do you just potentially brew it with less potential fermentation?
That, and then also use particular strains of yeast. So different yeasts are what are called different. Their attenuation rate. So it's the percentage of the sugars that they will consume. So typical yeast that we like, we want it to be highly attenuative. It would be 75 to 80%. But you can get strains that just don't perform very well. So they can be like 10%. So not for regular beer production is awful. You don't want yeast like that. But for this, it's actually really good. So yeah, it's a combination of that strain of yeast, and then like you brew it specifically, and to have more like maltodextrose, the ones that are harder to ferment for most yeast. So there's less of the simple sugars like glucose and sucrose. Yeah, I already got way over on the non-alcoholic. I'm supposed to be talking about the seltzer. Anyway.
That's okay. I have a question on non-alcoholic beers. What's driving the whole movement right now?
It's a variety of things. That's the interesting thing about the movement is you would think it's somewhat driven by older people. We all know it's no secret that boomers are getting older, and so they are drinking less because you have to eventually slow down. But there's also a whole bunch of younger. The term has been coined sober curious, which I don't know if anyone heard this term. It's a thing. So it's basically it's mostly millennials, and they're exploring the world of being sober. So because this is something very foreign to that age group, right? Typically during your 20s and 30s, that's when you do all your heavy drinking. So that's why they coined the term sober curious. I didn't make up that term, but anyway, it is interesting, right? So that's fueling it a lot. A lot of just health conscious people are choosing to not consume alcohol. So, I mean, we all know the health benefits of alcohol, but there is a point where you consume too much and it's definitely not healthy. So I don't know. We could definitely go into a whole psychological journey on this. And is it given the fact that nowadays we're given to extremes? So it's like we can't even imagine a world of moderation. So we either have to be like drunk all the time or sober all the time. I don't know. Like this is, we could philosophize and falafelize as well. If we do it while eating a falafel. What do you call that? Falafel philosophy? Wow, we're way
off topic.
Okay. Seltzer.
The seltzer in front of everybody.
Okay. So you'll notice if I had have really planned better, I would have got you the non-flavored version, but I don't have any. So this is peach raspberry. Oh, I shouldn't have told people. I should have made them guess. Anyway, it was in the thing. You knew it was peach raspberry. So this I find fascinating because this is a lesson in taste. So how many people taste the peach more than the raspberry?
Smell.
How many people the opposite, the raspberry more than the peach? See, it's like split almost 50-50. And I can't, the only logical explanation is that our taste buds are just very different. Because they are in equal amounts in this. So the flavorings are used at exactly the same amount, but as people's perception is just like some people taste one more than the other. Most people can taste both of them, but it's like, and on the smell, like, yeah, I think I get more of the peach on the nose as well. So this is just our unashamed version of trying to make White Claw, basically. There's no pride in this whatsoever. It's just a complete like sellout to the bro culture. So there you go. It actually doesn't sell very well, which I'm actually kind of proud of because it means that we're really not that known for it. So anyway, it has its place. Let's say that. So yeah, like in one of the interesting places that it has is this is like very low in calories. So in terms of a can, what are we at? 95 calories for a short can. So it's really low because there's no sugar in this. So we just extract the ethanol from the beer, and then the flavorings are just flavorings. They're alcoholic based, but you use so small amount of it that it really doesn't contribute to the calories. So, so like we say, there's 0 grams of sugar. Now we've run into, where I can talk forever about seltzers is all in the regulatory side. So it gets really weird and convoluted. So we can't, even though I had this tested in a lab for gluten, for allergens, we can't call it gluten-free, even though it is. Well, we're working on this. So we were trying to launch this as a flavored malt beverage. So you've probably seen in the beer store, you can get things called flavored malt beverages that really don't resemble beer at all. But the way the framework works is that the beer store can't sell anything that's not malt based. So there's all these things. As long as you use something, some sort of extract that was malt based, it doesn't have to really taste like beer, and they can sell it. So they had a twisted tea, I think that was malt based. They had some other products that were really not beer, but you could sell them in the beer store. So the people that designed this machine in the States, because it comes from beer, they made the case to the governing authority down there that it was a flavored malt beverage, and they won. So they were able, in the States, you can sell this as a flavored malt beverage. Why does it matter? Well, it's taxation. So it's taxed as beer then instead of as a spirit. Even though the percentage doesn't even matter, that this is only 4%, it just matters where the alcohol comes from. So you'd think that in Canada, oh yeah, that'd be same idea, right? So they brought it up here, got lawyers involved, and thought it was a no-brainer, it would go through, and they actually denied us. So I'm not, yeah, so it's a little gray area right now how we're selling this, so don't, it's legal to sell, it's just we'll have to pay a different level of tax on it. Again, which is kind of ridiculous. For me, like the tax on alcohol, I get it if you want to do that, but just make it based on the percentage of it. Like that shouldn't really matter where the actual booze is coming from. But here you have it. We're in Canada, so they have to, I don't know if it's because they just want to be different than the States or what it is, but so that's the challenge right now is like how to sell it. So that's why when White Claw came into Canada, it wasn't a flavored malt beverage. The only way the LCBO would let them in is if they made it vodka based so that they could make more money on the taxes. So I believe they might have a flavored malt version now, but in the original, when they let them come in, that was their stipulation.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I'm wondering, are you using natural flavorings in these?
Yes.
And the reason I ask that is usually you will pick up the flavor you love most. I like raspberry more than peach, but I get peach every time I drink this.
Huh. So they are 100% natural flavoring. So they, these ones I get from the same supplier that I get our puree from. And so what they do is they actually extract the flavor from the fruit using actual alcohol. So it's just really high, like 99% alcohol, and alcohol is the solvent. So it just extracts the flavors. And then we take that concentrated flavor and put it in the seltzer. So they are 100% natural flavors. But again, with nothing else there, like we don't realize how often like sugar is associated with fruit. So it's like when you taste it without the sugar, it almost tastes a little fake or weird because you're just getting the flavor. I think there's ways we can change it a little bit. One of the other issues we've noticed is with the carbonation. So like immediately after you pour it, it's like it almost tastes flat. And I can assure you that it is carbonated, but it's because there's no nucleation points for the CO2 to like stay. So like beer, we forget about it, but there's body to it. There's proteins, there's different things there where that it'll hold on to the CO2 that's dissolved in there, and it'll maintain that mouthfeel with the carbonation. Well, it's literally just water, alcohol, and flavor. So there's nothing for those things to the CO2 to hold on to. So the more it sits, it'll be flat like rapidly.
You were down here last month, whenever it was, you were showing us your machine and talking about how essentially because you're taking your Hellas lager and splitting it in half, you have to try and figure out your sales point of not ending up with too much seltzer versus too much alcoholic.
Yep.
You just said this isn't selling very well. How is that?
Well, we haven't even launched the non-alcoholic.
Okay.
So we're still in the initial phases, a lot of trials. This is the easy part, quote unquote. The non-alcoholic, to make it taste okay, even though we're running it using vacuum distillation, there's still some weird flavors that happen and haven't been super happy. So the version we're gonna try tonight, nobody else in the public has tried it. It's the version I'm the most happy with so far. So put it to you that way. So you can't buy it. You can't. I mean, if you really want some and you really like it, I'll give you a growler after. But it'll be interesting to discuss it once we're drinking it, because most people here, I think, are beer lovers, right? So a lot of us have trouble with non-alcoholic beers, if I'm speaking for other people, because it just lacks that like flavor and mouthfeel. Yeah. So that was good. The guys coming to do the reno on the second. Sweet. This is going to confuse them. It's good. I like it. I like confusion. Yeah.
Do characteristics like hops make it through the vacuum for non-alc?
No. So that's where what we've been experimenting with, and the one we're going to try is like we're added hops like after to try to bring that out, because that's the big. For me, the big like prize would be to make a really good hoppy non-alcoholic beer. So I've tried a bunch, and most of them I don't like. So this is the closest I've got. Did you already get yours?
Yeah. Well,
lovely.
I went in to remind her that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So we'll have that sample soon. So this is the interesting part. So flipping back to now talking about the non-alcoholic. So it's again, when you strip out the alcohol gives it some sweetness. It gives it mouthfeel and body and all around balance for all of those other things. So some of the early trials, like Derek was saying, is we just ran some of our regular beers through the machine. So running Helles through it, and all of a sudden you try that. I actually didn't mind our non-alcoholic Helles, but it tasted really bitter. And if you know our regular Helles, it's not bitter. It's pretty mild. But as soon as you take that balance of the alcohol out, it's like all you're getting then is the hops and that bitterness to it. So we tried SBA through it, and that was good. So the one we're going to try was actually a unique beer that we brewed kind of specifically, because I think that's kind of where the future is going to be. It's like trying to reverse engineer a beer so that it's going to turn out good on the other side once you take the alcohol out. So, and then we're going to end up with seltzer. The seltzer is fine because it's just the ethanol and water. So it doesn't really, the beer going through doesn't really matter. So we've run all sorts of stuff. We've ran sours through it. We had a pinwheel, the pineapple goza, we ran through the machine, and the seltzer again just tasted like alcoholic water. The non-alcoholic sour, actually, we're going to play with that a bit more and maybe launch one, because that, again, you have an added element. You have that that sourness to it. So we actually think that it tastes really good. So, yeah. What else do I have to say about the non-alcoholic?
Can I ask another question?
Oh, go for it, yeah.
How would you compare the process for your hot water versus a non-alc beer? If that's an okay question.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, we had talked, I went on one of the other ones that talked about the process for the hop water. So that we had so many learnings from that I actually took some of that to apply to the one you're going to try. Is I kind of married the two concepts because we were happy with how the hops came out in that water. So it's like, if we can do that now into this non-alcoholic beer base and try to recreate that. Well, I've done it twice now. The one time didn't work super well, but this one I think was good. It's a good like kind of first step, and I want to keep working with that because it's like adding the hops and yeast after the fact to get some sort of action. Again, no alcohol, but it's you're getting those flavors that we're trying to put into the beer.
When you strip out the seltzer side, what's the specific gravity of the non-alcoholic? Are there any sugars that the yeast could potentially convert into alcohol and mess up the whole thing?
Excellent question. No, there aren't any sugars left because it was already fermented first, right? So so we already had a beer that fermented all the way down, and then Now, interestingly, you could pitch a different yeast that would, like if it was diastaticus, you would have to be careful with the yeast that you pitch back in, because you have a really good point. There are some strains that would actually break down some of that stuff. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Any thoughts on the first few sips people have had? And again, I don't care. You don't have to like it. Just be honest feedback. It is non-alcoholic beer, so.
That's my problem for Amy.
Oh, yeah, she can have one actually. Yeah. Thank you. Did you get one? Yeah.
Tastes a little bit off, but not bad.
It's a little weird, right? There's still a little weirdness to it.
Yeah, I think that's it's usually a kind of sugary flavor from some of these non-alcoholic beers. There's some distinct flavor you just can't get rid of almost.
Yeah.
But it's actually blends in with other flavors, and it's not bad.
Thank you. That is actually the best compliment I could ever achieve. It's not bad.
It's very light.
Yeah.
I'm no expert in the non-alcoholic session or the nose meals, but once in a while I will dabble in one as a night off.
Yeah.
I find this one is a little bit less polished than some of the fully formed ones. It's almost got a bit of acidity.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I can see what you mean when you added it to the hot water a little bit, because it's got kind of that dirty hot water kind of.
Yeah.
Where your hot water's not dirty at all.
That's okay. I'm not offended. I do.
Better, more sips, and I think you just have to market it well, because it's actually very good.
Thank you.
So that's small.
I've had a lot of non-alcoholic beers, and there's two brewers that I've tried that are the best so far. Silver Carpenter and La Bocale.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know the La Bocale. Those are really good. Yeah.
And then the Bad 3.5 and Bud Zero for just that crisp, refreshing, like standard beer thing. So they only have any of that hot flavor that these yeah. But no, this is very good.
There's different ones too. You'll notice some are 0.0. And those are not even de-alkalized. I don't know how they actually make those ones, but they'll actually be more flavoring. Like some of them, like sometimes they actually put beer flavor into it to make it, to simulate. It's just flavoring, to try to make it like that again. Yeah. The flavoring?
Like it tastes like an SPA, but you guys are so known for it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know. It's yeah, and it's like this is the whole struggle we had in planning for it and just trying to figure out where we're going. It's like, what's our goal? Is it even realistic to be, it's going to taste just as good as a beer? Is that a realistic goal, or can it never actually be there because it doesn't have the alcohol? I mean, it's a question to do. And part of the issue will come with that body. So it also depends, do you care about calories or not? So if you look at, and that's a fair thing, because if we drink beer, we probably don't care a ton about calories. But if you look at it, so this one is actually really low. So like a small can would probably be 45 or so, because there's just not much residual there. But a lot of them will add like maltodextrins, different larger carbs to it to give it more body and mouthfeel. And you can replicate beer a bit like that, but then it won't be, again, it depends what your reasons are for drinking it. So
maybe throw a bit of cold pressed coffee in here or something, and it would work perfectly well.
That's not a bad idea.
Beer,
yeah.
Have your coffee in beer form.
Yeah.
What's the target stuff?
Again, it's stripping out because when I first tried it, I'm like, oh, the pH has got to be lower. That was my instinct because it tastes acidic. Test it, it's exactly the same. And it's like, it's just because you've taken out the sweetness again of the alcohol, so it tastes like it's more sour. So again, trying to reverse engineer it. Do we then like aim for a little bit higher so that when you strip it, maybe it'll it'll be in that range. I don't know. The other issue is as soon as you get into non-alcoholic, you remove one of the best barriers in terms of food safety that beer has, and that being alcohol. So all of a sudden now we're down to, so the three big things that make beer safe are the pH, the CO2, the anaerobic environment, and the alcohol. So you take one of those away, it's a little easier for other stuff to grow in there. If you raise the pH too much, then you're getting into a dicey range where you can actually grow some other stuff. So that's just like from a food safety point of view. But again, these are all considerations. Like, it's so hilarious when you first look at it, you go, oh yeah, just non-alcoholic beer, simple. Yeah, we'll just go for it. And then it's way more complicated than like regular beer. So yeah. Yeah.
It's lacking something, and I would say alcohol.
Just mix your seltzer together.
Yeah, but you
Put them
get
back together.
But you get back to the original beer. Actually, that's an interesting question. How close would you get to the original product if you recombined them?
Not close.
Way off.
So I've done that experiment not on purpose before. Have anyone ever frozen beer, but it didn't burst, and then you thaw it, and then you drink it? It's not the same anymore because you've taken the water out and then tried to reconstitute it, and it's just not the same. And if you've ever poured that out, I mean, we've all done it, right? You pour it out and it looks like gross. Yeah.
Can you explain, is there a difference between dealcoholized beer and non-alcoholic beer as far as the label goes in the process?
As far as I know, de-alkalizing means that where you started with alcohol in it and removed it, whereas non-alcoholic doesn't have to be that. So like say our hop water, you can call that a non-alcoholic beverage because there was never alcohol in it in the first place. But as soon as you put D on it, it means that you took something that had alcohol and stripped it out. Yeah, because anything that strips it out is going to have some sort of impact on it, which is why I think there are, again, a lot of people hold their secrets pretty close, the big guys, in terms of how they make it. But my guess is like those 0.01s are not de-alcoholized. They're just non-alcoholic. So they kind of took some water, flavor, and different stuff and made a beer. I think there's Hogarden 0.02, I think. I tried that one. Ooh.
No,
oh, it was bad. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a Hogarden fan. The best of times.
The best of
That one just finished me.
Oh, you did try it, eh?
I did try it.
Oh. I wanted to like it, and then I tried. I'm like, no, I can't.
As soon as it gets a little, as soon as it's not ice cold, it's off.
Yeah. Cool. How we doing on time?
Well, I was about to go. Thank you, Marvin, for the talk and the time. Eric, thank you. Derek, thank you for being part of the collab. Thank all of you for being out here on the patio and putting up with that non-professional people trying to do it set up. Those of you at home, thank you for joining in. Next week, Tej from Merit Brewing is in. Make sure you get your order in for the free delivery on Thursday. And I was at Counterpoint today doing a collab. We are not going to be releasing it on the 14th because Taylor is doing a collab and we're going to release it on the same day that hers gets released. So I am hoping that Taylor will join us on that show to talk about her experiences doing a collab. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to push my favorite button, but none of you are going to hear it. Recording.